Hi, this is Nick Dawson from Talkhouse Film, and you're listening to the Talkhouse Film Podcast. Each podcast we do at the Talkhouse is about bringing together two interesting people, and it's always a lot of fun trying to figure out the right pairing. For this latest episode, I'm indebted to Talkhouse's editor-in-chief, Michael Azerrad, for conceiving this podcast idea and making it a reality. Celebrated stars of stage and screen, Kim Cattrall and Isabelle Huppert first met on the set of Otto Preminger's 1975 suspense drama Rosebud, starring Peter O'Toole, Richard Attenborough, and Peter Lawford. Cattrall was all of 17 years old. Huppert was 21. The film was a critical and commercial flop, but it was a formative experience for the two actors, and they've remained friends ever since. For this Talkhouse podcast, we got the two together at Cattrall's home in Manhattan, and they reminisced about Rosebud and Preminger, discussed achieving longevity in their careers, Sex and the City, Cattrall's new TV series Sensitive Skin, the joys of producing, and more. They also had quite a lot of fun with a gag shop voice disguiser, so make sure to listen out for that at the end.
You keep coming in and out of my life, and the same with
yes,
vice versa.
Because once you have gone through Rosebud with Otto Preminger, once in your life, it bonds you.
Yeah.
It ties you forever in a way.
That was my first job.
Was it? How you got involved in
Rosebud?
in Rosebud?
See, I'm reading your mind.
And my lashes.
Yes. I was just graduating from theater school
In
New
Dublin?
York.
In New York.
And
What school was this?
I had gone as a very young girl to Lambda, and this was sort of the second experience I had with sort of teachers and the structure of a school at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And we didn't have any film classes. We just had theater classes. We did one day of videotape. We videotaped each other, and I thought I looked so hideous. And I had really chubby cheeks. And someone said that I had a little tiny gap in my teeth that I would have to do something about that, else I would never be able to do a Crest commercial.
It's funny, I'll tell you after what is. I have the same story about my cheeks. I'll tell you after.
Do?
Go ahead.
So my agent said, maybe you should go on a diet. I mean, I was 17 years old. Because when I came to New York at 16, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't have any. I'd taken a student loan. I got a scholarship. I mean, it was eating at McDonald's. I mean, it was like any student experience. And then she said, well, there's this film that Otto Preminger is doing. And I didn't know who Otto Preminger was. I mean, this was before, like, the Movie Network.
Sure.
And all
Neither
that.
did I.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
And then people would say to me, Rosebud, oh, is this about Citizen Kane? And I didn't even really know. I'd never seen that movie either. I mean, I knew playwrights and I knew plays, mostly classical, but I didn't really know much about film. So I went in and auditioned for the casting person, and she said, Otto Preminger is going to be here next week, so you'll come and read for him. And I read for him, and he looked at me and he said, do you want to do this? And I said, yes. I didn't know whether I wanted to do it or not. It was such a strange experience. I said, okay. And so that's how it happened. And then 2 months later, I was by myself at 17 on a movie set.
Yeah.
And I thought, I would really like someone to be here with me, but my agent didn't take care of having a guardian or something like that.
Because I was all by yourself. Your parents never visited? No one from your family?
No, nobody. And I remember having that picture taken of the 5 of us.
Yes.
On the roof of the Carlton Hotel.
Yes, I see. Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah. For press at the beginning, just before we started shooting the film.
It was at the Cannes Film Festival. It was sort of this kind of, people kept saying, "Oh, rite of passage," which I had no idea what that meant. That this was. And I remember going to the beach afterwards, and I was walking along the beach, and this man was running after me. He said, "Excuse me, are you in Otto Preminger?" And he said, "Preminger, it's film." And I said, "Yes." And he said, would you be interested in posing for Playboy? And I said, excuse me? I was completely, he said, we need young, beautiful women. And I said, no, I'm not, no. And I didn't want to be rude because I was this nice Canadian girl, but I also thought, wow, so this, in my mind, I thought, so this is what happens immediately when you step into this world. But the filming of it was horrendous.
Oh, the filming was.
But you were always so calm.
Yeah, yeah,
You
that's
were
true.
always.
Yeah.
I looked to you with such
Really?
admiration and thinking, if Isabelle can get through this, because you never knew who was going to be his patsy in any given day, or who he was going to try and.
Fire. Yeah, because everybody every day would say, if you are not happy, you go back to Paris. You remember
you?
that? No, not to me.
To
but
anybody.
To
Yeah,
anybody.
yeah,
If you are
yeah.
not happy, you go back to Paris.
yeah.
No, he would say that to every day to someone in particular. If you are not happy, you go back to Paris. So everybody was kind of, freezing. And I remember one day there was Georges Belair. I don't know if you remember. He's a French actor, very good French actor.
Is
and
he the
was-
one who got fired?
That I can't remember, but he is in the film for sure, because one day we were on the boat, I remember, and Preminger started to yell at him, if you are not happy, you go back to Paris. And Georges Belair took his bag and said, okay, I'm going back to Paris. And then Preminger said, no, please stay. So that's the way you had to be with him. You had to resist him just a little bit, Yeah. But we all got along very well, actually.
Really well, yeah.
We were a nice group of people.
Yeah, I felt so too. There was a camaraderie.
Yes, between us.
Yeah, yeah.
And we all came from very different backgrounds also, so we had, in a way, a lot to share. But also because we all came from such different backgrounds, so we were, I don't know, there was no competition or whatsoever
No.
between us. We were all interested
I
by
also-
one another.
I also felt that the circumstances were so extreme with his temper and his anger.
Yeah, so it
That it
made
bonded
it
us
bonded us
in a way.
Yeah.
Because whenever I think about a situation on a set where it feels like you're under a dictatorship. There's no collaborative experience of it. You sort of feel like you're in a camp of sorts, and you kind of have to bend your head down and just go from one day to the next and get through it. When I came back to the States after doing the film, and I started to see French films, first of all, I saw Day for Night, and half of the crew on Rosebud was actually in the movie of Day for Night. And I went, wait a minute, I know him. I know that sound man. I know that cinematographer. I know that AD.
Oh, that's funny.
It was really funny.
Really?
I sort of got connected.
Yeah, maybe because it was also the set designer, Willie Holt.
Yes.
Maybe he was also in Day for Night.
Yes. He told an amazing story to me, because one day I was particularly feeling very nervous about Preminger.
Yeah.
And he said to me,
Who?
Willie.
Willie?
Yeah.
You remember him?
Yes, I do. I remember his face.
Yeah.
He was had a very strong face.
He was very handsome.
Yeah, and he said to me, he tried to do that with me. He said, don't let him do it with you. And he said, when he did it with me, he said, listen, I've been through everything. And he showed Preminger the numbers from the concentration camp, because he was Jewish and he was in the concentration camp.
I didn't know that.
And apparently Preminger shut up
Wait.
shortly after seeing
After
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember that he was treating Willie at the beginning badly. He was like he was for everybody. That's fascinating. I didn't know that about Willie.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the film, by the way?
I went to the opening in New York of it, and people were leaving in droves. And Preminger was there, and he was really upset. And he said, why are you leaving? Why are you going? He was in the lobby. He wasn't in the...
You went to the opening in New York.
Yeah, he did.
I did not even go to the opening in Paris.
Well, I was, yeah. I think I saw it in Los Angeles, because I was a contract player by Universal Studios. Preminger I don't know if he did this with you, but he put me under a 7-year contract to do the film. And...
When you did Rosebud?
Yeah.
You were in a 7-year contract with...
Preminger. He signed me to a 7-year contract.
And so what did it imply eventually?
It implied that he would only have to pay me a certain amount for so many films over a period of time, and that the contract was binding, and if I had another job, I would have to come to him and say, do you need me?
So that's what happened, obviously, because did you do the films with him?
No, I only did Rosebud with him.
Only, yeah.
But I was offered a Universal contract as a Universal contract player. It was the last of the contract players. This was like in 77. And we did Rosebud in 74, 75.
Yeah, I was trying to find 74.
74.
Yeah, okay.
And the Universal Studios had to come to Preminger and buy the contract out. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't a lot of money. He
Yeah,
wasn't
but
making
still,
any films.
it has to be done.
Yeah. The thing that was amazing when I saw you on film is that you have this amazing transparency. It's my pharmacy delivery. What was it that you wanted, that Michael wanted us to
Evoke something a bit more contemporary, maybe. Let's the time behind. Let's be here. We're still alive.
That's a
Okay.
good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So how many
Okay.
years later, what is life like? The most amazing thing is that I think out of that beginning of those 6 girls, I think you and I have survived in our own
Survive
ways.
and
Prospered.
brilliantly.
Yes.
But maybe so. You just to again a bit Ross, but you said that Lala, she's not an actress anymore. You said
No.
that?
Lala is married to Richard Dawkins, the Darwinian scholar. And
The
Darwinian scholar. He's he's a Don at
a Don. What does it mean?
it means a very high level professor, head of a department in Oxford.
Okay.
And he writes books about Darwinism.
D'accord. And he's a teacher.
And he's a teacher.
And
he lectures and he writes books and she illustrates the books.
oh, yes, that's nice.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
it's so funny, both of you, and I always tell her if I've seen you, or she always asks me, or I ask her. But it feels again like that experience of family in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Always, because at the time she was having a relationship with the writer
Ted,
with Ted, who was writing the book about the
How to Make a Multi-Million-Dollar Disaster was the name of the film.
That's the name
of the book.
Okay. And Debbie Berger, I don't know what happened.
She's
to her.
married. I
She's
think she had
married and has
kids.
kids. Yes, with Ted Ruspoli. I think with a Ruspoli man,
And
whoever.
Brigitte, I
Brigitte,
don't know.
I don't
what
know.
happened.
I don't know if she
Yeah.
she
Survived.
certainly did a few more films afterwards, because she was really. Then I don't know. We should try to find out.
But what do you think? Why did we survive?
That's
Is
a
it
very good
tenacious?
question. No,
Stubborn?
I think we I think we really wanted to, and
Yeah.
and even though it's interesting, because yes, we were so young when we were doing this movie together, and yet I think that our determination was very strong. And sometimes when you look back, it's quite amazing to because I didn't view myself as a very strong person at the time. I was, shy, timid. I mean, even I can't believe that it's not that I accomplished such a big way, but let's say I accomplished, even to my eyes, a little path, and when I look back, I can't believe that I did that in a way, So it means that if you have a little bit of will, a little bit of confidence, which I'm not even sure I had that, but just, I don't know, you want.
I remember.
You just want to do it.
I remember someone interviewing me and saying, basically, why you? There are, and I said, well, I don't really know. Why me? Why not me? There's a lot of pretty girls. There's a lot of talented women. There's a lot of opportunities that I had or didn't have. But I think for me, it was just, to me, I felt happy. I felt content. I felt purposeful. I felt like I was also engaging in a situation with theater, especially, less in film. And that's why I look back on Rosebud and our friendship even today as some kind of link to something that continues in the sense of wanting that kind of experience. Not no matter what the film is like, but the experience of doing it and the people that you get to know.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel that once you go through that experience, whether it's successful or not, you have created a bond. I guess that's part of what it is. And belonging with other people in that situation. So that to me feels like family. To me, that feels like I belong. The people that I'm with, I don't feel strange with. Sometimes people outside of the business, like the family situations that we were talking about, that doesn't feel so much like kin anymore. It feels slightly foreign because they don't understand the hours that we work, why we would put ourselves in any kind of vulnerable position like that, or expose.
Or the obsession with your oneself also. I mean, things like this, because that's, and which has to be. It's part of the job. It comes with the territory. It's nothing to be, and only, a mirrored relationship can, in a way, understand that. Don't you think so? Because you work on it's your own material, so it's beyond narcissism or self-obsession. It's just a material on which it happens to be you, it happens to be your face, it happens to be your person, but that's your material.
And
so
your instrument.
Your instrument, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Your instrument.
Yeah.
So
and how you play it, and how you
and how you take care of it too.
Yes, and how you. The challenge is, I think, something that both of us have in common, that we have, in our own way, continue to have fear, but to go ahead.
Yes, exactly. No, I think so too.
Yeah,
because that's what it is about, in a way. I think that you never really get rid of fear, but in a way you put them on the side, and no matter what, or you carry your fear.
Yeah.
and
fear sometimes can be your friend.
Also,
it says
because it's part also of something human and fragile, and you can hope that at some point life is not only about victory and strength and enthusiasm, but can also be about depression, fear, weakness, frailty, and that's what you project on screen. I remember when I saw you in this episode of Sex and the City, and you were playing the ill person, and I felt, the character was so engaging and so moving, also because it's what you did out of it, it was so funny and so, but also, you had the other side of it, the illness and the. How was it to do this?
The series, it was really interesting. I really felt that I was too old to play it at 41, because I think some of the choices I look back on that I made were about survival, because I didn't have a situation where I could ever ask my parents for help, because it was just too difficult for them. And I didn't ever want to go back to waitressing or doing menial jobs, in the sense of not continuing to work as an actor. So I took some jobs because I thought, I need to be on a set, and I need to be working, and I need to support myself. I sometimes, when I did this very strange John Carpenter film called Big Trouble in Little China, which was really a fun film.
But John Carpenter is a really good director.
He's a very, very good director. And the film was a fantasy. It was way before its time, and it was a huge flop. It was a really interesting cast.
What year was this?
This was 86.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And
who was in the film with you?
Kurt Russell was my leading man. Yeah. Lovely guy. We got on great, and it was fun, and it didn't go anywhere. But while I was doing the first month and a half of the filming, because it was like 3 months, I was doing a play in downtown Los Angeles. I was doing Three Sisters. And
which one did you?
I played Masha.
Masha?
Yes, I loved it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Masha is the sister-in-law, or Masha is
the sister. There's Olga,
Masha, the middle one.
Yes, yeah.
I like,
And
I like her.
Irene,
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
too. She's passionate and wonderful
Who
character.
directed it?
A guy called Stein Winger, who ran the National Theatre of Norway.
Ah.
It was really interesting man,
right.
and David Mamet had done the translation.
Ah, yes.
It was really, really exciting. But this was always the pact that I made for myself, because I never thought that the movies were going to, they were sort of paying for my theater addiction.
So you were a stage actress from the very beginning. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Until you told, yes, I was aware of you as a stage actress in London, but I never realized, because people, of course, internationally and France wouldn't know more for your films and for Sex and the City.
Of course, yeah.
But, and we are, the stage is very local most of the time, it doesn't really travel. And
well, the unfortunate thing sometimes about theater in America is that they think if you're not on Broadway, you're not working.
yeah, that's right, yeah. But
or in Chicago,
or in Chicago.
There's amazing theater going all over the United States. Really, really beautiful work. So I for me, film was more of a monetary necessity.
Right.
But then, as Sex and the City, I did some television stuff, and some of it I found really enjoyable. But I couldn't find really great directors in television at that point. And then...
Yeah, now they've got better directors, of course.
They have cable television,
I know.
which has replaced, sadly, a lot of independent film.
I just heard, for example, that... I forgot, what's his name? A really good director now is going to direct a series on HBO. I mean, as an example of how television has become.
Oh,
really
Alan Ball was 6 Feet Under, doing American Beauty, and it sort of became this. But at the time that I was HBO, it was very exciting. But I really had reservations about doing it because I was 41, and I felt that I couldn't be this sexy, voracious. I really did feel that. I did. I was really scared. And I thought, I've done this part in many ways when I was younger, and I don't really feel that... And I was kind of happy to, at 41, to have had a success and to spend the rest of my life being what they call a journeyman actress. It means you work and people respect you. You don't really become internationally successful. And then this show came, and I thought, I have to get over myself. I have to really... why not? Why is that such a problem? But even doing it, there's part of me that's a very... feels like a very good girl, and playing the slutty character, or, and I don't have a problem so much with sexuality or nudity, but I was nervous to do those scenarios. And I was married at the time, and, I sort of thought, how does my husband feel about watching this? And how do I feel about, using comedy to break down these taboos, but at the same time feeling a little bit nervous about being typecast or being just thought of as a certain way, especially as I get older, and then being pitted as like the older woman with the younger man, and these kind of stereotypes. So I was very excited with the thought of, when it ended, of what could be possible to play different things. And that's why going back to the theater with Ernest, with the tremendous appetite to play different kinds of things.
And is this also what drove you into, because you write a book about several books?
Yeah.
About, so these were mostly essays about, remember when we had dinner together in Paris after that show that we were talking about, 448? You talked to me about, that was a book about sexuality, or how was it called?
I wrote one book about the history of sexual desire called Sexual Intelligence, which was a companion book to a documentary that I produced called Sexual Intelligence for HBO. And it was very interesting. We took 7 people, 4 heterosexual, 1 gay man, 1 gay woman, and 1 bisexual women, and we asked them all the same questions about sex and sexuality, and their answers were so completely different. And then we went into the history of sexual desire. It was really an interesting format. I wanted, in some ways, with the first book, Satisfaction, which was called Satisfaction, the Art of the Female Orgasm, which I was very interested in, as I think most women are. But it was more about something that had changed in my sexuality. And I had a very naive point of view that if I wrote this book, it would separate me from this character who was so sexually emancipated.
So that's what drove you into writing in a way.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, that's interesting. You never
it was
thought,
the opposite effect.
I know, but you never thought about writing, and even more so about writing these kind of matters before.
No, I never did.
That's interesting.
I didn't really feel that I had a platform to write about it, and I feel that the show gave me somewhat of a platform, and it was something that happened during the course of the show that changed for me. So I thought that would be, because I thought that there would be an interesting conversation to begin, and it did become a very large part of the documentary, the desire to do the documentary after that. But I was also interested in producing because I don't know about you. After this series, I was in my late 40s, and there was not a lot of great scripts or great roles. And I was sort of being put in the position of playing somebody's mother in a very peripheral
me
way.
too. Yeah, they keep asking you about playing mothers.
Yes.
And so I would do some of it, but then you don't want to end up just playing mothers,
No. But is it a mother that has an arc? That has
Well,
an
if it is,
interesting...
No, of
that
course.
kind of mother
I did
to.
this movie called My Little Princess in France, directed by this woman director called Eva Ionesco, and she's the daughter of a famous...
Ionesco?
She's the daughter of Irina Ionesco, who is
The rhinoceros.
No.
Not
It's a same Romanian name, but lots of Ionesco in Romania. So her mother is a quite famous photographer, and she's a kind, let's say to be quick, of French Saliman, in the sense that she would photograph her own daughter in very suggestive situations as a very little girl, naked. She did extraordinary portraits. And so there was a big fight between eventually the mother and the daughter, because the daughter wanted to get back the rights upon her own photos and physicality, and then she did a movie out of it. So as an example, I'm talking about this as an example of a mother with a very big arc, because she's a photographer, she's a crazy mother, she's a non-mother in a way. So in this case, you want to play mother, but in some other cases, you don't want to end up just doing mothers. Yes, that's true.
So do you think that's why theater is so important for us at
I
this
don't
point
think
in
so,
our
because
lives?
I never took theater as a substitute to whatever wouldn't happen. No, because I touch wood, but so far I never resented this, kind of, lack of roles for women, not such young women or things like this, They keep saying that it could be different in France than in America.
Do you think it is?
Yes and no. I was reading this article the other day about Frances McDormand, who just produced this miniseries for HBO, and so everyone a while you would come up with that as we say in French, the exception that confirms the rule. That's just the same thing but exception by section makes in the end of the day a whole big amount of people, and so. Even in America, I don't. And let me put it this way: I think that just whenever I'm being asked this kind of question, I think it's so misogynistic. Just the question itself, just to make a statement out of it, is a kind of
misogyny,
misogynistic posture, in a way. You know what I mean? It's I think it's very ambiguous, especially when women journalists would come up with such questions. It's almost like they they are not so sure about themselves, so they project on you their own their own anxieties or their own questioning, and I keep, this kind of question wouldn't be asked to a man, for example. So
Exactly.
why do you have to to solve that problem as a woman, constantly? It's something which is not necessarily a problem. I mean, it's also difficult to find good roles when you are in your 20s,
Yes.
And I think personally the role that I found when I was 40 years old were a lot better. Not a lot better, but not as minimal, not few,
Well, sometimes playing the girl is the worst part to have, because you
Because most of
you
the
don't
time
have
in
any
your-
growth. You don't have any
No.
change. You just have to
And most
sit
of the
there
roles and that's even more true now, but it was already true. I was lucky enough to my first big roles were more about like the lace maker, for example. So they were more about inner life than about seduction, or you know what I mean. But I was lucky because most of the time, what do you require for a 20 years or 25 years old actress? You just require from her to be in the appearance, not to be in the essence, And it's something, of course, which is much easier when you are later in your life, But when you are very young, it's not so easy to get these kind of roles. So let's say
Or a
get good
director.
roles is always a problem whatsoever,
Yeah.
no matter the age, So the age problematic is more about it's very to turn it into a problem is
Well,
misogynistic.
I agree. I think that it's cut in half again. It's like each decade has its own challenge for you, but as you say, it is just part of life too. That's
Exactly.
the way it is. It's ever changing. It's not going to just stop. I found that producing is a very interesting way to express something of what I want to say about women our age, and to do a series about a woman who's.
So which was it? Which one was it?
I did an adaptation of a series called Sensitive Skin. It was a
Voilà,
British
okay.
series.
And that you produced it.
Yeah, and
you were in it.
and I was in it. And what was interesting was
And who else was in it?
Elliot Gould is in it. He plays the doctor, not my doctor, but my character, my husband's doctor. And we surrounded this character, as in the original, with really eccentric characters. It's her story, but it's their story, which I found so much more interesting to tell, instead of just being about this woman's midlife crisis. By exposing it to circumstances that I felt were more tangible, instead of just telling that story and making her sane or insane, or frustrated, or compromised, or marginalized. And it was a really interesting, exhausting exercise to produce and also be in it, to star in it.
Did you write it?
I didn't write it, no, but I had I asked for rehearsals, which was, I've only ever done that once before in a film, to rehearse and then to rehearse the whole script like a play.
Ah, okay, you rehearsed but it was a series?
Yeah, a series.
So how many episodes?
6 episodes.
And you've done it already?
I did it
Yeah.
already, yeah.
It's been out?
It was on HBO Canada and did really, really well. And
It's going to be out now?
yeah, it's going to be out. I'll send it to you.
On HBO?
No, not at HBO. Doesn't really acquire things. They make their own stuff.
So where is it going to be out?
We're not sure. We're right now negotiating with a couple
Okay.
of networks that want
So
it.
it's going to be out in France too, maybe?
Yes, we have an offer on the table in France already, which will
okay,
be
great.
good. But what I really enjoyed about it was taking what I love about theater and incorporating it to television. I've done it a little bit in film, but I've never done it in television. And I think we could only do that because we had all the scripts at the beginning. So we were almost, it felt like doing a film or a play as opposed to one episode after another. Which
How
is,
many weeks was the shoot?
It was 7 weeks, and
7
it was it took us about a week to shoot each episode.
And who directed it?
A man called Don McKellar, who's a filmmaker, who also played my husband in it. We all had many, many roles to play, and the man who adapted it also was in it, and also executive produced it. So we felt like it felt again like that situation when I build that or make it part or if I'm lucky enough for it to be part of the situation, is to feel that family unit of support and to really be honest and upfront, not have to put on any kind of airs as a producer or as a leading lady or any of those things, to say, this isn't working, I need help, can you help me, which you do in a rehearsal process. So I really, really, but tell me about what's
Was it
going
the
on.
first time you produced something
Other than the
completely from
documentary?
top-
Yeah,
okay, but
yeah.
first feature.
First,
that's interesting.
yeah, first time. And have you ever produced?
No.
Or no.
No, no. I think it's more American to produce than French.
Is it?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It's not very much, I don't know.
There's not a crossover.
No, I mean, I have a company and I would sometimes buy rights but to really produce, it never happened to me. It doesn't happen I can't think of any, famous French actresses who would actually produce in the way you say it, really from top to
Casting to fundraise to yeah. It's like being a parent.
Yeah.
And this is your child.
Do a lot of American actresses do that?
Some of them do. I remember hearing the first person that I ever heard did that was Jane Fonda when she did Coming Home and on Golden Pond, and I was so excited by the fact that you could have some kind of say in not just what you wanted to do, but who you could bring together and play with.
Of course, it's an artistic involvement.
Yeah.
As a producer, you still have artistic control upon what you do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, as an executive producer.
As an executive producer.
In television, what I have found is that a lot of the writers ask to become a producer and then an executive producer because they have more control, artistic control. And
do you have the final cut, for example? Can you control the final cut?
Yes.
Okay.
With Don McKellar as the director and Bob Martin as the writer and myself as the star and executive producer, the three of us, whether it was casting or whether it was one take was better than another, and some of it was dragged down fights, always leaving.
So you would also go over the cutting, the editing? You would be in the editing room?
I wasn't in. What I would wait is for them to get a specific idea of where things were.
But then you could intervene and say, listen, I remember that this take was better.
Yes.
I'm going to be a producer right away. My God.
I said the two words that changed your mind. Final cut.
I'm like Monsieur Jourdain, who wanted to do, without knowing I'm a producer. I didn't know. I want to be a producer. And say, listen, this take it was better. You have to use that take.
What about directing? I think you would be a terrific director.
Well, I was, a couple of times, who offered me once to direct something. God knows why. Dustin Hoffman was directing this, or he was involved in some kind of series, and he was asked to gather some people from different, from different places. And so I remember he asked me if I would be interested in, that was a long time ago already. But then eventually nothing happened. So I was asked a number of times I don't know, it's this kind of thing. Maybe I should one day, say to myself, okay, if this one does it, why not me, and then I would be able to do it. So, I don't know, out of a really almost complete fulfilling as being an actress and out of fear of doing it, as a result, I never directed, It would be, shared reasons why I never ended up directing, being really fulfilled as an actress and also thinking that I wouldn't be able to do it. So I hope I'll always be fulfilled as an actress, so I would have to work on the other reason why I never made it happen. And maybe, were you ever interested in doing it?
Yes, I feel that what is the really great thing about getting older that I'm really enjoying is really not caring as much what people think. I care, but not as much. And
Yes,
really,
because it has to do with this, what
Yeah.
people are going to think. And
yeah. But wondering, I mean, when I see a film, I'm engaged when I feel something is true or authentic. And I don't find a lot of that in American movies so much anymore. It's fantastical, it's
you mean the truth? I totally agree
yeah,
with you.
yeah.
Well, it's
And we're more sophisticated than we've ever been, and it's hard for me to. I know so much about how a movie will end now, and it isn't because I've read the book. It's just that I've heard the story many times. I mean, that's what I love about performance art, because it's so personal and so unique, and I'm going on a journey that is very personal and detailed, and I can tell when I'm watching the monitor, and I was on the set every day on this sensitive skin, is that I could tell when an actor was fudging it and when they were present, and it's so clear to me now. I think when I was younger, I wasn't aware of it, but I think on the search for authenticity, period, it brings you to a point where you just it's black and white. It's present or it's not, and I think that's a good thing that you need in film especially, because in theater too.
yeah, sure, absolutely.
but
But I
especially
know
in
exactly
film.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's funny because it seems a bit obvious,
Yeah.
but in the end, it's not obvious.
I know.
I mean, this thing that you are describing, talking about this quality of truthness of something, you think it happens all the time. In fact, it happens very rarely, and this is what.
And you can smell it. You
Yeah.
can taste it. Even you see something by a filmmaker and you think, I've had such respect for this, but this is really feels very hack.
And you have anything do you have any idea of what you would like? I mean, if you were going to direct, would you like to write your own stories, or would you like to adapt something? It's interesting, but I think that you can be as exposed as of a story of your own, but yet with a sort of veil, or screen behind which you can sort of hide, because it's not your own story. So your personal input would be more hidden in a way, because the story is not yours, but still it would be your film. But so it's more difficult to say exactly where is your own persona through the film. And then the second question would be, would I act in the film, or wouldn't I act in the film? That's a different. For instance,
why wouldn't you? For focus reasons?
No, but for instance, if you were to direct a movie yourself, would you film yourself, or would you direct other people? Would you put yourself in the film, or would you?
I think I would, if I would need to, as far as funding is concerned, I would do it, because people ask me to get involved with something, and if it's more than one capacity, they say, yeah, but we would really like you to also play a role, because you have a fan base, or you have some kind of quality that you can bring, that people will bring people, some people to the theater or to tune in on television. So I guess I would. I don't think I would like to have the lead, because I think this would be really, really difficult. On Sensitive Skin, my leading man was directing and executive producing. He's done it many, many, many times, and he does it effortlessly. But occasionally, things were left out. And he went, oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he was doing everything together. Yeah.
Of course. But he had a DP that would work with him so much that he knew that was taken care of. They had a shorthand of communication, because they'd done so much work together, that he didn't have to worry about that aspect. So that was interesting to watch that. I'd never been involved with that before. It's someone that could be in a scene with me watching me.
That must be something very weird. Never happened to me.
Yeah, a couple of times
Yeah.
I thought, he's not listening to me.
Yeah,
He's
because
watching me.
he's watching you. Yeah. Which can be also a good thing, just merely as an actor. But still, it's very, oof.
Yeah. So
So-
what makes you say yes to a film? This wine, by the way, is really good.
I just
want
want to
some
check if we don't.
We have to go to the theater, too.
Yeah. What time is it, Ilya?
7:37.
We have to go.
Oh my God!
This is Nick Dawson, the editor-in-chief of Talkhouse Film, and you've been listening to Isabelle Huppert and Kim Cattrall in conversation on the Talkhouse Film podcast. The episode was engineered and edited by Elia Einhorn. For more filmmakers talking film and TV, visit thetalkhouse.com/film. Subscribe to Talkhouse Film and Talkhouse Music podcasts on iTunes, where you can find all our previous episodes. And while you're there, please rate and review if you can.
What do you want us to say?
Just who you are and that you're listening to Talkhouse Film.
Hi.
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 Hi, I'm Isabelle. I'm Isabelle Huppert.
And Kim Cattrall.
Huppert.
We are talking to Talkhouse Film.
And now we have to leave you because we have to rush to the theater. See
To the theater.
Glenn Close in A Delicate Balance.